We're back in the NEC Football Chop Shop, a postseason edition. I'm Ralph Ventre. He's Ric Serritella of NFL Draft Bible. And now we all know that the NEC head coaches will select all conference teams this Thanksgiving week, and they will name major award winners. Those will be the official league awards that come out on the eve of Thanksgiving. But NFL Draft Bible does their own thing, and Ric Serritella is with us today to hand out some postseason honors to some very deserving Northeast Conference athletes. Rick, we're back in the chop shop, doing it one final time for the 2019 season. We're going to start with your MVPs. I know you're giving out 5 major honors. Kick it off. It's all you.
Hey, the Chop Shop NEC Awards are open. And, you know, Ralph, we got to start off with the NEC Offensive MVP. This man, I don't think there's been a week or an episode that's gone by that we haven't talked about Aaron High Wind, Smooth Sailing Winchester. I mean, this kid can do it all. What more can I say? I think he was the most explosive player in the conference. Of course, transferring from West Georgia, taking the league by storm. Coaches ask me, who is this kid? Where did he come from? He is smooth, he is fluid, and he's a dual threat. 1,800 yards via the air, almost another 800 yards via the ground, 26 total touchdowns. Of course, big play James hitting him all season long. But Aaron Winchester, a big reason why this Blue Devils team is in the postseason.
Yeah, he transfers from Georgia State, the graduate transfer. Unfortunately for CCSU, this is his final year of athletic eligibility. But we've heard a lot of things throughout the season about the leadership component he has brought to that program this year. And, I mean, you mentioned it, just he is the epitome of an effective dual threat, top 5 amongst NEC rushing leaders, and one of the more efficient passers in the FCS. Only 4 interceptions all season in 12 games. So he takes care of the football. And as you mentioned, total touchdowns. He gets it in, whether it's through the air, on the ground. And I'm not surprised here at all, Rick. Obviously, a really deserving Draft Bible NEC Offensive MVP honor for Aaron Winchester of the CCSU Blue Devils.
A very exciting player, and looking forward to seeing what happens this weekend as the CCSU team looks to extend their season. So Aaron Winchester, the man that we'll be paying attention to. And moving over to the defensive MVP, a guy I'm really excited about having out in Pasadena. Now, the defensive MVP was a little bit tougher. There were some good candidates here. But at the end of the day, that man again, Gill, Wagner College, 60 tackles, including 20 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, of course, leaving as the conference all-time sack leader. And he has pro intangibles. His performance, his play all season long gets him the call to Pasadena. I'm excited for him to get out there to the NFLPA Bowl, compete against some of these Power 5 and FBS players. But Gill of Wagner, very deserving, edges out the competition. A lot of good candidates, but we're going to give it to Gill, Wagner College.
And obviously, Gill was on the radar from the start of the season. He was the NEC Defensive Player of the Year in 2018, a preseason All-American, and he really lived up to his billing this fall. It was a tough season for Wagner overall, but they had a lot of success in that defensive front 7, and obviously Gill, that outside edge rusher, speed, power, he did it all. 20 tackles for a loss. You mentioned the all-time leading sack artist in Northeast Conference history, And you mentioned some of the tough competition. Going into the final week of the season, St. Francis linebacker Dejon Lee and Cam Gill were 1 and 2 at the top of the FCS leaderboard in tackles for loss. So Dejon Lee with a great year. Tomas Wright, a defensive end from Bryant, with a great year. We can go down a list. I know in the secondary, you were very high on Reed Harrison Ducros, cornerback from Duquesne. Projects as more of a slot guy at the next level if he's to get that opportunity. So, yeah, it was a great year for defense in the NEC, and obviously a great year for Cam Gill. So, no argument for me on that one, Rick. I think you got what else? A special teams player of the year for us. I believe you have a rookie of the year, and then I guess we'll close it out with the coach of the year. So what do you got for us on the special teams side of the ball?
Special teams. I never want to overlook special teams. It's 1/3 of the game. And this young man, Luke Campaneri from Bryant.
Luke Samperi.
Campaneri. It sounds like a cordial, Ralph. I feel like bring you down to the house bar. But hey, you take a look at the body of work and what he's done all season long. And he's been Mr. Consistent. Accuracy, not only from short range, but deep range. I think the season opener, I think he had a 49-yarder and then a 50-yarder against Duquesne. So not only being accurate, but giving his team a chance. Hey, knowing that if we get to the 35-yard line and the first half is winding down, we can trot out Cool Hand Luke to go make an attempt and try to put 3 on the board. So, hey, he didn't get as many opportunities with the extra points. Bryant not scoring as much as some of his counterparts in the conference. But when he was called upon, he got the job done.
So Luke Samperi, the special teamer of the year, according to NFL Draft Bible here in the Northeast Conference. Well, what about the rookie of the year? Rick, we've had some fab freshman performances around the league on both sides of the ball. I know it was particularly hot at the receiver position, and I believe you have a receiver for your NEC Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, a lot of well-deserved candidates, as you mentioned, Ralph. We're going to head up to Bobby Valentine's neck of the woods up there in Sacred Heart, and Tyrese Chambers. What a great move to bring this young man in, coming from the JUCO ranks, Fort Scott Community College, I believe. And, all he did was grab 50 balls, over 800 yards, over 16 yards a catch, found pay dirt 8 times. And, him and his quarterback, Logan Marchie, they hooked up often and early. They came out like gangbusters at the beginning of the season, and then they finished strong. His final game, I mean, there was, I think, maybe 1 or 2 games that he played where he didn't find the end zone. So that connection was fun to watch. I'm looking forward to what the next 3 years bring. Hopefully we can get him out to an NEC Media Day. I look forward to chatting with him and meeting this young man.
Yeah, so Tyrese Chambers, more than 800 yards receiving. That's 3rd overall amongst NEC leaders. Not bad for a freshman. And you mentioned the strong finish to the year. Actually, rookie quarterback Marquez McCray stepped in the last couple of games. So there was a little adjustment there for Chambers, going from Marchie to McCray. But as it turns out, Chambers, Robert Morris in the season finale, 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown in the 3rd quarter against the Colonials. And really a great freshman season for Tyrese Chambers. He's the NEC Draft Bible. He's the NFL Draft Bible NEC Rookie of the Year. All right, Rick, we got one more major honor to dole out. Who is your NEC Coach of the Year?
Well, this was the easy one, Ralph. And, Coach Mack, Ryan McCarthy up there at Central Connecticut, very well deserving. Came into the season with that interim label. They quickly removed that, I think, after their 4-0 start. They wind up finishing 11-1, undefeated in conference play, 7-0. and just one of 3 teams in the FCS to be undefeated. And quite frankly, that one loss against Eastern Michigan could have went either way, as you know. So not only did they do well against the FCS, they were in there and really close to being one of those FCS teams that knocked off an FBS opponent. And I just think the body of work and where he picked up with previous coach Pete Rossamato, Ryan McCarthy, well deserving of this award, and looking forward to that big-time matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, and you say that this was an easy selection, and when you look at it through the lens of Central's incredible season, the Blue Devils may be having arguably the best season in Northeast Conference history, 11-0 against FCS teams. The lone loss was on the road in the last seconds against an FBS foe. So really incredible what a first-year head coach has done in New Britain. With that said, I do want to give a little shout out here, Rick, because I know he impressed you as the season wore on. Ultimately, his Colonials lost that head-to-head matchup against Ryan McCarthy's Blue Devils. But just a quick shout out here on the Chop Shop to Bernard Clark Jr., Robert Morris's second-year head coach, the former Hurricanes linebacker, had the Colonials in second place in the conference after a 7th place finish in the preseason poll. And Robert Morris, to put it simply, they had their best season of the decade, and certainly Coach Clark deserves some kudos for that one.
No doubt about it. I mean, what he's been able to do with that program and the short amount of time that he's turned it around, hey, we're looking at something special here. This was not a one-year wonder by any means. He's a championship caliber player, and he's a championship caliber coach. And Robert Morris, very lucky to have Bernard Clark.
Yeah, and Robert Morris, a lot of tradition out there, but now a new attitude, and it's quite apparent. But with that said, Rick, it was a real enjoyable ride going through this 13 weeks of FCS football, and I really appreciate your time all season long here on the Chop Shop. Central Connecticut, 11-1, FCS playoff bound, with the NFL Draft Bible NEC Offensive MVP, Aaron Winchester, leading the way. We'll be locked into that game on Saturday, CCSU at Albany. Rick, before we sign off, any final words in the last edition of the Chop Shop?
Chop Shop is closed.
All right. That's cool. We're putting the lid on it for the 2019 season. He's Ric Serritella of NFL Draft Bible. I'm the NEC's Ralph Ventre. We'll see you again next year.